Record. Oh, whoops, wrong button. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording. Episode 546. Dale Comstock is on his way. So it's just me and Don the Pleb. Obviously, we're always together because Don's locked in my basement. But this is Cobblecast Part 2. Friday, August 27th, 2021 at 2:33 p.m. Eastern Time. And we finished Cobblecast Part 1 last time with Don, myself, Dale, and Joe Tedeye. And we finished it on like a lighthearted note. We were like, and if the situation devolves, we'll be back. And now it has devolved, and 12 or 13 Marines are dead. And it very much is shaping up to be, like, again, we said lighthearted in the first podcast. There's going to be a Black Hawk Down moment where the RPG hits the rotor. Does it feel like that's where we are?
Not yet, but we have the setup for it. So I don't know how lighthearted at least I was when we were having this conversation last time, because I was like, look, man, every briefing that I have ever had, bad things are about to happen.
Well, and that's what I meant, is we were just kind of like, we'll be back. Like, we're going to be, that's how I meant lighthearted. Obviously
but it was, I don't know how this wasn't obvious. Again, right. But in the world of Black Hawk Down moments, I don't want to showbiz, Dale's future speech that may or may not be coming. But at around the point that the Taliban controls a giant area and you have no influence over it, this is what happens. Like 100% of the time, this is what happens. And everyone should have known that. Everyone who has ever been to the Middle East did know that. Everyone who has been on a deployment spin-up knew that. Even if you didn't go, you just sat and listened to somebody go, okay, so if you're traveling through a Taliban area and a whole bunch of people just suddenly disappear, there's no kids on the streets, there's the local nationals are just avoiding you for some reason, you're about to get hit. And the only people in that airport, people trying to flee the country, right? And everybody else knew, don't be there.
Yeah.
This was coming.
Yeah, Dale said that before, where he's been on, he's like, and you just notice, he's like, it's almost like, right, like Wild West, like saloon stuff. He's like, doors are shutting.
Yeah.
And it
really is.
They just know it. It's almost like a kind of like an extra sensory type thing where it's here it is. And it's right. And I think Tim Kennedy went over, right? The Green Beret, who's been on Rogan like a million times, practices what he preaches, just packed up and went over. And
yeah, he had a picture of him in the Kabul airport, I think yesterday at 3 p.m. Local time.
Yeah.
But to the Sixth Sense thing, it's not, I don't know if it's very Sixth Sense like. The closest thing I can compare it to is you ever like walk into a room full of people who are talking and everyone just goes silent. You're like, man, they were just talking shit about me. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like that, but it's a whole city.
Okay.
And they like, normally if you do patrols and stuff, kids are coming out and they're harassing you for MREs, and they're they usually have about, I don't know, maybe 6 words they can say to you. Stand on the side of the road, American, they got hands out and all this other kind of stupid crap. And all of that is gone when something's going to happen.
Yeah,
all of it. It's piles of trash show up. There's a lot of stuff over the years that has been like, this is consistent. This means bad things are going to happen. And a whole bunch of them started happening very quickly. But most importantly, when you are in enemy territory, you are going to get hit. That's it. And what we did is we made all of Afghanistan enemy territory, and that was pretty much that.
Yeah. You did say it at the I love the disconnect where you're like, I don't know what part of that was lighthearted, Tommy. And I'm like, remember when we were all holding hands and laughing? It's like, this just shows how disconnected I am from reality. It's like, remember when Dale was singing? It's like, Dale didn't, what? Dale, but Yeah, and you did say it. You're like all of the things, all like the warnings, all like the flashes, all the memos. You're like all the red lights are going off. The in the cockpit, whoop whoop, everything pull up to rain, and it's just everything's going on. Gas masks are dropping, and it's like, do you think something's about to happen? It's like
Right.
it's like get out the auxiliary. They drop the little propeller. It's like get out the auxiliary engines, and it's like I don't think we're landing like normal. Like that's what it seems. The guy I've had a guy on here before, Brandon Fisher, who found this podcast through I don't know what, but his friend is he's the one I sent you the pictures of. He's a Marine right now. He's deployed there, and he can only like communicate through Snapchat. So I've been like talking to him like on and off, and he's like, "Do you know who like?" He's like, "Do you know Tim Kennedy?" And I thought he was asking like to get him on the
Know him
podcast
personally.
Well, because people ask me, they're like, Tommy, who'd be a great podcast guest? They're like Tom Brady, and I'm like, I'd love to. They're like, you should get Obama, and I'm like, fucking love to, but I can't. Like,
yeah, this. Let me.
for
Everybody.
But sorry, he goes, do you know Tim Kennedy? And I go, no, and he goes, oh, I was just with him. He was like teaching me tactics, and I was like, that's how I found out Tim Kennedy was there.
Right.
Yeah.
But to dear all of you viewers out there, all of us not horrifically large podcasts, by which I mean not Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
All these people you want us to talk to, we want to talk to them. They don't take our calls.
Yeah. Tommy, you should. One guy comment. So like I posted that video of like Dr. Malone, and people are like, he didn't invent the mRNA. And I was like, yes, he did. And then I posted McCullough, and they're like, what relevance did this have? And I was like, he's the most published cardiologist in world history. And someone goes, how come you haven't had on Fauci? And I was like, I'd love to. I'd fucking love to. So yeah, how come I don't have an inside man in Kabul right now? Well, I'd love to, but he's fighting. And several of his friends
busy right now.
He's a wee bit busy, and several of his friends were killed. And he was like, hey man, a couple of my friends just died. And I was like, noted. Like, okay, you do you. But it does seem to be devolving quicker into that. And, it's as I painfully do so. Sure, let's play devil's advocate.
Let's do it.
This is what I do. Biden didn't start this. Trump didn't start this. Obama didn't start this. Sure. All right. Just like COVID, he inherited it. Okay. But at the same time, there is this level of like, back to George Washington, every subsequent president didn't start this. And it kind of becomes like a default where it's like, hey, yeah, no one did. And so it kind of cancels itself out. It's like what Eisenhower said talking to JFK at like Camp David. And he was like, he said only the tough it was kind of a new take on the buck stops here. He said only the difficult things get to you. If it can be solved, someone else is going to solve it so they can tell you that they solved it. Only the shit that can't be solved gets to you. And so there is a certain aspect of, no, you didn't start this. Sure, you didn't start COVID. You inherited it. I get that. I understand that. But there's also, you're in the Oval Office. The buck stops there. And if your prerequisite or your, asterisk is, why didn't start this? Well, then that might not be the job for you. That is the head honcho where Trump didn't start COVID, but hey, it's on your shoulders. It's now you. That's what the presidency is.
This is my view specifically in this case is probably a dickheaded view because it always is. But if you go out to dinner and you come home and your front lawn's on fire and you do nothing, like you don't call the cops, you don't say, you don't call the fire department, nothing. You're a douchebag and you probably deserved your house burning down because you just sat there and watched it happen. If you come home, you throw water on the lawn and you call the fire department. Well, look, you tried. If your house burns down, you at least were doing the right thing. You probably didn't really deserve that. You at least made the effort. If you come home and throw gasoline on the lawn, not only do you deserve to have your house burned down, I'm going to laugh at you while it happens. And that is the position we find ourselves in, is no, he didn't. I didn't start the war. That's nice. I didn't start us pulling out of Afghanistan. That's nice. You didn't. And you had the option to throw water on it, call the fire department, or throw gasoline on it. And you went, you know what? I think we have excess gasoline that needs to go on the lawn. And when you do that, you're the asshole. You just are.
Yeah. It's like Mark Manson in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. He goes, there's a difference between things being your fault and your responsibility. Um, and I can relate to that with losing your brother to suicide. That wasn't, I don't think it was my fault, but it is my responsibility. It happened to me. Didn't happen to anybody else. Mark Manson gives the example of you hear a knock at the door and you get there and there's somebody just left an infant on your doorstep. And he goes, you could feed it to a pit bull. I wouldn't recommend it. But he goes,
Right.
is it your fault? No, not at all. Is it your responsibility? He goes, even if it just means you call the cops and they bring it to child services, it is now your response. It's just what it is. It's on your lap. Here it is.
Yeah.
You didn't light your lawn on fire, but if you come home and you go, well, I didn't do that. You go, oh fuck, it's my house. Like it's what it is. It's here. It is. It's what it is, right? Truman didn't go. Imagine if Truman went, I didn't get us into World War II. Like, it'd be like, like, can you imagine if Truman said that? Like,
I highly recommend not breathing monster. Public service announcement.
but it's no, he took it and it was like, all right, you now have to nuke 2 cities of women and children. And he did. And for the better. But it's
how dare you? How dare you say that?
I think we should nuke Hiroshima again. Just
yes.
In 2021. I mean, just to really make them yeah.
What are we waiting on?
Yeah, no, that's I'm a hardliner, right? I don't fuck around with this. I already made clear that I think we should annex Afghanistan. I said there's 3 options: annex it, nuke it, or withdraw. And seeing as how we're not doing 2 of those, we just got to take it. But so I said all that to say, Biden came out, and at first it did kind of seem like he was like, he said something like, I bear the full responsibility, and I was like,
he quite literally said the buck stops here,
and I was like, good. And then he pivoted to how this is Trump's fault. And it's like, dude, I mean, I get politics is a bunch of sleazy, slimy. Sure, I get that. And you're going for real. I get that. But at the same time, man, like, you got to just own it full stop. You're the head of the most powerful military force in world history. And you're getting gangbanged on the world stage right now.
Yeah. A whole bunch of people have come out with their own little speeches about the subject and what they would have done, what they would have said, etc., or what they think about it. And Jocko Willink is good. It is the speech that you're looking for there, right? Like, it sort of comes down to, hey, we just got butt fucked, and that's what it is. That shouldn't have happened, but it did, and here's what we're going to do to fix it.
Yeah,
and that's it. There's no whining, there's no equivocating, there's no bitching. This is what happened. This is how we're going to deal with it. And if you are the people standing in our way, understand that deadly force is authorized to the point that I can get American civilians and those that are allies out of Afghanistan. And I don't care what that takes.
Mm-hmm.
And had Biden come out and said that, much as I hate that douchebag, it would have been, if he follows through with this, that's as good as we were going to do.
Yeah.
He screwed up. Yeah. He should have seen this coming. Yeah. This is wrong in every way that we got here. Yeah. I'm still kind of pissed about that, but at least we're going to be moving forward in some real way. But instead it was, we're going to do something eventually, maybe because we can. And
it's you just have to wake up and own it for what it is. Again, I mean, like, how come Clinton wouldn't send in the tanks or the AC-130s to Somalia or to Mogadishu, and then but eventually it gets to the point where it's like, here's where we are, and everyone has their plan versus here's where we are. We have to use Malaysian APCs, and we're going to have Admiral Howe come down and say, we're going to destroy all of Mogadishu, and we might even kill Durant by accident, but we will get him or his body.
Yeah.
You have to wake up, and it's just clean slate. Yesterday is as changeable as 10,000 years ago. It's the beginning of this podcast can't be undone. It's over. Where do we go from right here, and how do we move forward? And it's just
exactly
what it is, and that's all you can do. I didn't vote for Biden. I'm very open about how I don't like him, but there's a certain point where you just have to own it.
Yeah. Well, you would think this is. I am very heavily partisan. I make no bones about this. It doesn't generally come up when we're talking, but Democrats don't get held accountable, right? There are two sources of responsibility in the United States: the Republicans and America. The Democrats have never done anything wrong. Just ask them; they'll tell you. And if you don't believe that, go look back at how America was racist. America had the KKK. America opposed the Civil Rights Act. America was racist, sexist, bigoted, and homophobic, or whatever. And then go find out who was actually doing that at the time. You'll find out that it was the Democrats. And then go find out who got us into any war ever, regardless of whether or not it was a Democrat. They just wait for the next Republican to come along and go, it was him, right?
Yeah.
And this is how this game is played and has been played for a long time. And so, as nice as it would be to think that a Democrat is going to stand on a stage, and look at the last one who stood on a stage and made excuses and what have you, as nice as it is to think they're going to stand on a stage and go, yeah, this is my responsibility, this is wrong, I would like to remind you that if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. I would like to remind you that various border agents have been killed because somebody somewhere accidentally might have sold guns to Mexican cartels that then killed Border Patrol agents. I would like to remind you that there was an IRS that was targeting political opposition groups, which, by the way, even the suggestion that the literal next president was doing, no evidence ever presented, but the suggestion that it was happening was treason. And oh my God, it's like the Soviet Union all over again, even though we knew the prior one was doing it. But all that one had to do was get up on TV and go, well, I just learned about it this morning when I was watching the news, man. I didn't know this was happening. And everybody just suck that shit right up. That's just how it goes. And so, look, if you have it's like kids that you don't discipline, right? Like, and you see these people, if you have gone to a public school ever, they're why'd you punch Timmy in the face? I didn't punch Timmy in the face. Okay, I might have punched Timmy in the face, but he deserved it, right? It's the first thing that happens. They have no discipline. They never come back and have any accountability. And you have a political party that's been doing that for 200 years. The expectation they're going to show up and go, oh, the buck actually stops here. No, this is actually my fault. Like, I actually have to fix this. You're dreaming. It's not happening. It will never happen as long as things stay as they are.
So what is going to happen? What is going to happen as of 2:50 p.m. Friday, August 27th, 2021? Oh, here's the big man.
Good timing, because that's the question for him to be here.
He heard me. He heard me and jumped right in. There's Dale driving.
Dale car stream.
Dale, please don't die.
Hey, man.
Okay, all right. Dale, so I just asked, what is going to happen here moving forward in Kabul? What is the next? We've discussed everything about it, how it led up to this point. What is going to happen now? Are we going to send an overwhelming force, or is the hell just beginning?
Well, I don't know how you're going to send an overwhelming force. We don't own anything. And if we decide to do that, they're going to stop us before we ever land. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they disable one aircraft on the runway, or landing or taking off, or start putting holes in the runway with mortars? What are you going to do? Essentially, those guys that are there now are in Fort Apache, man, outnumbered, outgunned. And if the Taliban wanted to, they could easily. Can you still hear me? I got cut off a second.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're good.
Yeah, I'm in my car, man. I had to change a tire, but those guys they could really be screwed, man. If the Taliban wanted to lay siege to that air base, ain't nobody getting in and nobody getting out, man. I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, but there's so many rumors flying around right now. But I heard that the Taliban said, "Yeah, we'll give you your Americans back, but at a price, right?" And they're asking for some, crazy amount of millions of dollars, essentially, basically turning them into hostages now. So, anyways. They're going to go good no matter what. If we ain't out by the 31st, I think they're going to say too late, too bad. And it's going to get even uglier, man. I mean, I don't see how it can get any better. The Taliban, they own this operation. They own everything, man. They've got us by the balls. No, they got Biden by the balls. And a damn thing this imbecile can do, man. Absolutely nothing. Tell me, what can we do? We can't bring anything in there. I actually think that at this point, if we tried, the Chinese and the Russians would go, hey, Taliban is a sovereign government now, and you're invading a sovereign country. We're going to help them out.
Yes.
We're stuck. We're screwed, man. You know what? This guy, it's just amazing that, how can people think that this guy there's actually people defending Biden saying, oh, he's doing a good job. Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Are you freaking kidding me? Anyways, I'll be trying to get my own guys out, man. My guys that are over there, a lot of them reached out to me in desperation, and and I've done everything I can possibly do. I'm trying to get them manifest on different flights, working through different groups, to include a group through Jakarta, through Australia, to get them out. And every day the window is getting smaller and smaller, and they're having a harder time getting them to the checkpoints. The Taliban control the checkpoints, and now that Biden and his bumbling idiots, the guys in there's all those advisors, military advisors, just handed over a list, a manifest with all the Americans and those that should get free passage to come out. Well, damn, man, he just gave up everybody's names, and
so I have been waiting for you to get here to mention that, because part of my job included knowing where American units were, because you don't want to drop artillery on American units. And I've talked a few times about, there's a computer that artillery has, and part of my job is, if we're getting overrun, not to pick up a rifle, but to pick up a grenade, slam it into that computer, close it, and stand over it until that grenade goes off. Because who the Americans are, where they are, all of the information about friendly units is more important than any one Marine's life, right? That's the whole point of this, whether you like it or not. And by the way, if you don't join the Marine Corps. That's how it goes. You should not, under any circumstance, be surrendering that information. And by the way, if you do, intentionally and willingly, you can be shot in a combat zone for doing it. And that is just life if you're active duty or currently deployed or whatever. If the Bo Bergdahl situation, that guy, had it not become a big giant political football and Obama trying to save him, could have put a bullet in his forehead. Look, you provided aid and comfort to the enemy in a time of war. That's death. That's what that is. Yeah. And now we have that as actual policy coming straight out of the White House. It is mind-blowing to me.
So, well, how do you think that was going to work out, man? You're gonna hand a manifest over to our enemy, going, hey, these are very important people to us. We need to get them out. Would you please, Mr. Badman, give them free passage? Why would they even want to do that? I mean, what are we going to do if they don't do that? We can't do anything. We just spent 20 years spending a bazillion freaking dollars trying to oust the Taliban just to let them come back in. What in the hell? This pisses me off. And I wanted to bring this up. I was going to bring this up to you earlier, Tom, on another podcast. But, this reminds me of Mogadishu. I remember the morning of October 4th, 3rd, 4th, the big firefight. And, we're well over 17 Americans were killed, 77 were wounded. And we're looking for a deed. We're trying to recover, our dead and wounded. And I remember one morning, a very early morning, like 0600, we had a formation on front of the hangar. And at the time, Colonel Garrison, the Delta Force operator, Delta Force commander, came out. And he started off with, gentlemen, war is nothing more than an extension of politics, and today I have some bad news. And basically what he said was, to paraphrase, Bill Clinton has ordered us to return to the United States and basically abandon the operation. And I'm like, so you're telling me that we have a whole lot of dead men and wounded men that came over here, and our commander-in-chief doesn't have the balls to continue the mission, to do exactly what we are expected to do, is continue the mission. This guy, it's okay with him just to give up and have sacrificed lives and limbs because we got a bloody nose. When every operator out there, standing out there, was ready to go full forward, full throttle, and get the job done. If it costs every one of us our lives, we were prepared to do that. and our commander-in-chief, who didn't have the same resolve of the men that he's supposed to be leading, pulled the plug on the operation. So we've got dead men, wounded men for life, because for nothing, right? And so I can go all the way back to Desert Storm. So I remember, without getting into too many details, I was inside of Iraq, 250 miles, 3 weeks before the ground war ever started. And I remember one morning we got the word. Good news and bad news, man. The bad news, the war's over. Good news is we're pulling out today. And we're all looking at each other like, what do you mean the war's over? It's only been like 2 days. And and basically I looked at my team. I said, gentlemen, I said, this war's not over. I said, the day will come when you and I will come back. And if we don't come back, our sons will come back to finish this war. And damned if I wasn't right. Guess what? I went back and fought it again, and my son went back. And guess what? We're no better off, man. And now we have ISIS, and the war has really has spread regionally from Iraq to Syria, now all the way to Afghanistan. And here we are again, fighting the same remnants, the same assholes that we were fighting a long time ago. It just, and I've been putting this out there. I think I said this last time on the show. I basically am telling every young man out there that's thinking about joining the military, don't fucking do it. Do not fight for the United States government, because it's not a U.S. government. It's a fucking socialist Marxist fucking regime, okay, that will get you killed to basically promote their political agenda, and nobody will give 2 rats' asses about you. Nobody. If they want to fight the war, let the Democrats send their kids, let the politicians send their daughters, man. You go handle it. Let the rest of us keep our kids here, because you know what? I'm tired of seeing my friends and people die for nothing, man. It's stupid. It's just outright stupid. And here we go again, man. We got, what do we lose now? 11 Marines and a corpsman, Why? Yeah. Because the commander-in-chief, first of all, is not fucking smart enough to be the commander-in-chief, make some bad strategic decisions. Okay, it's not only did he make them, but his staff made him. Okay, even if they may have advised him differently, you know what? They should have put their foot down, or they should have fucking handed in the resignation, walked off the job when they had the chance. But they didn't. They stood by his side and supported him. And so they're all culpable, man. All of them have blood on their hands. All of them are responsible for the murder of American young men, Marines, and it's just fucking shameful. How long are we going to keep doing this before those, that feel this way, stop, stand up, and say, no fucking more. We're done. It's not going to happen no more. You guys are out of here. We got to start over. Fucking reset. No, we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And they just keep manipulating us. What's funny too is every time you bring up the fucking topic, this guy just about hit in the back of my car, little asshole. How dare he, man? I'm driving my car. Normally I don't do this, but
let me just say it for you. Do you know who Dale is?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. This is about to turn into a live leak stream.
I know, right? I'm about to run him down, pull him off his car, and freaking throw him over the bridge here.
Jesus.
Anyways, I'm done with my rant. You guys
on that front, the don't enlist. One, I know we've talked before. Guys come to me, then they're thinking about enlisting and what have you. But a new thing has started happening just since we talked last, which is guys who are years in, like a lot of years in, have started getting a hold of me and being like, look, man, I don't know if I want to finish this. My enlistment is almost up. It's up right now. I'm debating putting in a package to re-enlist, and I don't think I want to do it. I don't think I want to stay. And some of these guys are 16 years in, they're far in. They're an enlistment away from retirement. But look, if you're going to take me and drop me in the middle of Afghanistan and just throw me into a meat grinder with no support of any variety and wait for the Taliban to send or let, as the excuses become, suicide bombers to just blow me up, then look, your pension's nice. I love what I do. I love the work, but I don't need to be turned into pink mist because you people suck. No. Yeah. It's part of the job. It's part of the risk. Marines die. That's what we're here for. All well and good. But I'm not just going to die for nothing. And it's, again, lifers who are getting a hold of me and saying this. They're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll figure something out in the civilian world. To hell with this. That is
Yeah.
not a sustainable military. No way.
No. Well, you know what? Years ago, so it's funny because Alan West, right? So a little backstory. I met Alan West in Los Angeles at a hotel one day. I was out there filming on Discovery Channel one morning, and I walked down to the lobby to go to breakfast, and I saw Alan West in the lobby. He was waiting for his limo to pick him up to go take him to his recording studio where he was doing his his show. And I stopped, I looked at him, and I said, "Hey, good morning, sir." I said, "By the way, I really hope you run for president. If you do, I got your back." So that was my conversation started with it. He laughed, we got up, and I got to know him real well. I was on his show. He actually did a special about me, my father, my son. All of us are veterans. And then a while back, later on, he brought me up to DC to do another show. And he said, "Listen, I want to bring you up here to talk about women in combat arms. And would you be willing to do that?" I said, "Of course." So I went up there and basically, I said, "Look," I said, here's what I think is going on, right? First of all, we don't need women in combat arms. The men can do it, right? Why subject people's daughters to this? It's, this is not, combat is not a game, man. When you see people dying and screaming and bleeding, and the horrors that go with that, that's certainly something you don't want to subject women to, and it's our culture, man, to protect women. And I don't care if they think they can do the job. It's not necessary. Just like it's not necessary to me to be a part of the beauty pageant. Not that I'll probably win. Actually, I'm pretty good looking, but but anyways, look, there's just the way things are, man. And so I told him, I said, "Here's what I think the agenda is." I said, "The agenda is this. This is the left wing trying to infuse. Okay, if you think about it, combat arms, infantry, Rangers, Green Berets, Delta SEALs. Like the guys that are in it, 99.99% of them are conservative. They believe in the Constitution. They're all American guys, boys, men. And not so much so for the rest of the military, right? You have a lot of Democrats that do a lot of support stuff, flipping hamburgers, paperwork, whatever, right? But the war fighters, the pipe hitters, man, tend to be overwhelmingly conservatives. And these would be the guys you would call on to basically turn guns on American citizens if the time ever came, was needed. And would they do it? Absolutely not, because they're not going to do that, right? But if you can infuse those ranks with liberal mindset, liberal dogma, you bring it in with, transgenders, and all this other stuff, people that tend to be liberal. Now you have a situation where you have an infantry squad leader telling a squad to attack that bunker, and suddenly it turns into a debate. And maybe we should send a memo first, ask the bad man to just give his guns up. Why fight today? Let's go home and think about it tonight and come back tomorrow. And suddenly the mission freaking vaporizes. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to where this was going. And it's starting to happen already. In fact, it's one of the reasons I got out when I retired. I won't go into the whole story what happened there, but basically I had an issue with a female who didn't like the idea that I had a private doing push-ups because he was carrying his M16 in a privately owned vehicle, which we all know you don't do. It's it's a UCMJ violation. And so I thought at least I could just make him do some push-ups, and while he's doing that, he could think about the mistake he made rather than just giving him Article 15. Man, that turned into a major shit show. And so this whole military has changed. It's going swinging way left. And that's my theory, that this is basically an attempt to water down the military, and basically it's now showing it's rearing its ugly head. And it's another reason I pulled out in 2011. I walked away from what I was doing over there because I actually watched, and I think I mentioned this before on another show. If I didn't, I'll have to add on one of the shows, where I watched an infantry platoon sitting down under shade with the low-bearing equipment off, while 500 yards to the front was an MRAP that had been hit by an RPG and had American casualties, taking direct fire, and not one of these guys would go out and help their fellow soldiers. And their explanation was because it was too hot. Not because it was too hot out there, too many bullets. It was like too much sunshine, goddamn, it's too hot. You think I'm gonna go out there and sweat? No shit, that actually happened. We sent our Afghans out to go recover American bodies and bring them back and triage them. This is what we have cultivated in this country. And that's a fucking fact, man. And it disgusts me. And it disgusts me when people try to defend that and think that that's okay. Bullshit. You know why? Because we all got skin in this game. I got kids. You guys have kids. I got grandkids. You know what? And I don't want them subjected to this way of thinking in America that is not good for us and certainly not good for freedom.
See, I had a real similar problem, and I got out right around the same time. When to that M16 and a POV thing, right? When I got into the Marine Corps, paperwork was kind of not a thing, unless you did something ridiculous in front of an officer and there was just simply no way to get around it, right? But if you got caught by an NCO doing something stupid, you were going to do something stupid for damn sure. Okay, you left your rifle somewhere, get the 550 cord, right? And that thing's going to be strapped to your face so you can't lose it, right? Something ridiculous. Take your rifle and hold it over your head and just run, right, until your arms fall off. And see how important it is to carry this thing. Bet you don't want to carry it like that anymore. Notoriously, someone left an e-tool in a position, and I dug for 2 straight weeks. I didn't even leave the e-tool, and I dug for 2 straight weeks. Right? See, these things are important. Bet you didn't want to dig with a spoon, did you? No, it turns out I didn't. And by the time I got out, I had a guy who supposedly didn't know what a ranger grave was. And I went to go have him dig one. And I got told, that's hazing. You can't do that. He was supposed to be deploying. And I said, it turns out these things actually save your life. Like when you're getting blown up, it helps a lot to be underground. Like increases your survival rate by 90%. How is this hazing? And they went, well, it just is. I said, I'm not going to stay here for this. This is wrong. In every way imaginable, this is wrong, and I'm not doing it. And it was, guys that lose a piece of gear or something, and well, what you need to do is you need to page 11 them. Why would I page 11 this guy? Young guys in the military lose shit. It's happened since the beginning of time. And you make them do something dumb. And you know what they're doing? In 10 years, they're sitting on a podcast somewhere. They're sitting at a bar drinking with their friends. And they go, yeah, man, I lost a PEG 15 off my rifle back in 2006. And you know what? I had that thing super glued to my NVG mount. So I couldn't see anything but a PEG 15 for like 2 days. And you know what? I never lost a piece of gear again.
Yeah, you know what, and it applies that and there's real meaning behind that. I had a scenario one night in a firefight where I looked over and my Afghans, one of my Afghans was not wearing his night vision goggles. And I was like, how can you see the enemy if you're not wearing your goggles? And I kept correcting him, telling him, flip his nods down, flip your nods down, flip it down. He flipped them down, looked back over, he flipped them back up. It's like back and forth. Finally, I said, okay, I told my interpreter, I said, get that guy's name. You tell him if I catch him one more time tonight without the nods up, I'm going to take his helmet, take his nods, take his weapon, take his gear, and I'm just going to leave him here. He's fired out here in the field, in the firefight. I'll do that. And so the next morning I found him. I found his squad leader and his team leader, all 3 of these guys. I had a big pile of sand out there. And I said, everybody go get your helmets with your night vision goggles on. I said, put your goggles down, even though it's daytime. And I said, get your shovels out and start filling sandbags all day long with your night vision goggles and your helmet on in the blazing heat. And, they sat out there and everybody watched and laughed at them. I was like, you know what? At least everybody gets to watch and laugh at you today. And we're not actually digging a hole and burying your sorry ass because you didn't get killed last night or you didn't get somebody else killed. These are lessons, man. These are important lessons. And guess what? Sitting down and counseling the guy, listen, don't ever do that again, sir, because you know what it could do to you. That's bullshit. It doesn't work, especially when you're talking about people that actually don't even have an education and their culture's so different. Okay. They believe in getting whooped. They believe in being punished physically. I mean, and they do it themselves, and we always want to be nice to the bad man because if we're nice to the bad man will be good to us. Bullshit. Total bullshit, man. You got to do what you got to do to save lives. Sometimes, it's tough love. I do it to my kids. My kids, man, when they growing up, if my son and my daughter got in an argument, I said, come on out in the garage, put the gloves on, get on the mat and work it out. And they go out and kick each other's ass, right? I said, there you go. Now, not only that you bond a little bit more, you got a good workout in, you learn how to fight and and problem solved, happy, everybody's happy, that's tough love. Now, of course, everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to report him to DCF, well, by the way, my kids are adults starting in the 30s. So good luck with that.
So that's another thing in the world of hazing, right? So I think everybody to some degree or another has gotten some crap about what you do with your rifle if you were in the military. It's just the nature of moving from being a civilian to being in the military, right? You're holding it wrong, you got too far away from it, something. Back when you were in the E1, E2 vicinity, this happened to basically everybody. And either you figure it out really early on, and you go like, okay, I'll never be more than an arm's length away from my rifle. That's life. Or you end up, once upon a time anyhow, the guy who is out there digging 4 graves, handcrafting a gravestone out of whatever's around it, taking your boots off, putting them down at the top of the grave that says, this is the space for me and my fire team because I can't keep track of my rifle, right? And that might sound harsh to you, but I would rather every private in the world dig 4 graves for the fire team that he's going to lose because he didn't carry his rifle somewhere in training than actually be digging 4 graves for 4 guys who died because that motherfucker did it in combat every day of the week. Forever.
Jesus. It's so a deviation from Cobblecast. So you know how I've had on before Dr. Peter McCullough, the most published cardiologist in world history.
Yes.
Right. And he told me he treated his dad who had COVID. His dad was like 88 and survived. And he just treated him with some vitamins, just 4 vitamins that you can buy at like Walmart. Mm-hmm. Vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, and curcumin. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he was like, just, tell your listeners about that. Not even don't get the vax, nothing. So I was like, all right. So I made like a post about it on my YouTube channel. And I said from Dr. McCullough, and I put the links. And I realized today it was shadow banned. It just said from Dr. McCullough with nothing. So I was like, motherfucker. So I made a video this morning. And I said, hey, Dr. McCullough said to take these. I said explicitly, I go, this is nothing about the vaccine. If you want the vaccine, go get it. I don't care. I don't care. Just take these vitamins. Take care of yourself. I got an email just now when I was going to piss from YouTube saying that was the last straw. We have permanently removed you from YouTube. So now my channel has gotten officially nuked. I can't respond to them. I can't appeal it because I have been suspended from Google services for recommending to go take vitamins.
And really, how dare you tell people to take vitamins, you bastard?
You know what, and you know what, Tom? It's not about violating.
No, I know.
Rules. I got banned from Facebook yesterday. Ready for this? For a post that I put up 5.5 years ago. It was a news article where Obama basically was putting the Marine Corps out there, and I called bullshit. And they actually banned me for that yesterday for 7 days for a post going back 5.5 years. That's how far they had to dig to find something on me. That's the agenda. It's not about freedom of speech.
Yeah.
They're targeting conservatives, man. Hands down, they're targeting conservatives. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do anymore. And I will tell you, man, I wish these people had the balls, the Facebook checkers, to put their name out there. Tell us who you are and what makes you so qualified. Let us know who you are. They won't do it because they're cowards. They're all cowards. They're all liars. They're all hiding. Okay, they're all full of shit because they know when the balloon goes up. And guess what? We're like that far away right now from total all-out freaking revolution. A lot of people are going to be held to account. They're going to be held to account. I believe that. I believe people are going to be hunted down and going to be freaking slaughtered for their stupidity, for what they have done. It's just, and I'm sick of it, man. And it's not just me, man. There's a lot of people, that think just like me, just had enough, and they're looking and waiting for that chance to come back and lash back out and bring some hard justice, man, which is needed. These liberals have lost their ever-loving mind, man. Ever-loving mind. In
a combination of that subject and one we were talking about earlier, did you see the broad staff sergeant that was like, if martial law is declared, I'm going to be coming for you?
Oh, that fucking dyke. Yeah.
Well, she just put a bullseye on her forehead.
Yeah. Right. I was like, this is not the smartest move you've ever made.
I already saw a post on some other websites where people are like, here's the official like reporting channel to report to like the Attorney General or Inspector General of whatever. Man.
Know what? And you know what? By the way, I believe it's a UCMJ violation to do that in uniform.
Oh,
right?
it is definitely.
Yeah, that's exactly that kind of bullshit. I'm seeing a lot of it. These assholes are on here in fucking uniform. All right, giving their opinions. They're way out of line. That's them becoming of a soldier, first of all.
Oh yeah,
and I know that's an Article 15 violation right there, easily, man. That need to take that bitch and kick her out of the army with a dishonorable discharge, but they won't because you know what? The left is in charge.
She's saying the right things, right? She's
exactly.
The political group that agrees with her is in power. They will not hold her accountable at all.
Do you think it was intentional? Do you think she's trying to get discharged?
No,
no.
She's just a fucking area. She's a typical fucking loon, okay? A liberal loon in the military. This is what I was talking about to Alan West. I said, this is the problem. When you get knuckleheads like this in the military, they start to dilute. Okay, they start to dilute patriotism. They start diluting the mission. They start diluting everybody's, objectivism. As far as combat, suddenly it becomes a subjective matter. And it becomes an opinion. It starts becoming a debate. Before you know, you're combat ineffective. Totally combat ineffective.
So
totally.
This is a really ridiculously small point, I'm sure, to most people. But if you have met Marines, this is a thing that we all get pissed off about because we're fucking weirdos. I was standing in some bullshit award ceremony formation for something at some point, and this broad comes out. She's got a paper. She's doing her drill moves, and she starts reading the citation. She's got a sergeant major behind him, which will be important in a minute. And she says, the Marine Corps recognizes, and the entire formation, everybody's, Sergeant Major behind her. Sergeant Major behind her goes, Corps. It's the Marine Corps. Kind of stutters and freezes up, and she goes back to reading, gets a few more lines down. The Marine Corps, and this motherfucker, this Sergeant Major behind, it's the goddamn Marine Corps. And this broad was like E6. How did you make it to E6 without being able to know that it's the Marine Corps, not the Marine Corps?
Because she learned it from Obama. Remember, Obama said that. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And this is, and everybody everywhere's, that idiot, right? But for anyone who does combat things, and the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps, it's
called the Marine Corps.
Indeed.
And the Green Berets.
Exactly. But everybody who does either combat things or the Marine Corps, just because it's the Marine Corps, is giant on attention to detail. Giant, right? Because it's little things that save your life all the time, right? It's not, there's not usually a guy standing at the end of the road being like, hey, we're about to start killing you. And to the earlier discussion in this, hey, look, there's kids that are normally there that aren't there. There's piles of trash that are there that normally aren't there, et cetera, et cetera. It's always something small. Hey, there's a glint in the road. That might be wire, and that's the thing that detonates the ID that's going to kill you and all of your friends. And if you're not paying attention to these things, you die. And so everybody, everywhere, you cleaned your weapon, you left some carbon on it, you filled out a form and you filled it out wrong. Hey, what? No attention to detail, devil dog? I can't even imagine how many times I heard that phrase, right? Just for everything. You can't tie your boots? What? You got no attention to detail? You can't even manage to put on a fucking uniform right? You can get people killed. Everything in the world that is attention to detail gets equated to death. Why? Because when people are shooting at you, it's the little stuff that saves your life. Hey, there's nobody over there. And over there has some cover, but it's very easy to focus on all the bullets coming this way. If you can't pay attention to the little detail that is the rock over there, you're going to die. It's important. And we can't even manage to get people to pronounce the name of the goddamn branch they're in. Come on. Come on.
We're done, man. We are so fucked as a country. We're done, man. The only thing I think it would give us maybe save us if we flip the house next year. That might be the road to redemption. But outside of that, dude, we are so screwed. And you know what? I'm going to keep saying I've just had enough. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I blame the Democrats. Every one of you, you voted for this guy in office. You voted for this situation. Over the years, you have supported all this garbage that has put us all in peril, has put our freedom in peril. You are culpable. Don't tell me, well, I didn't vote for that part. No, like I said before, it's like being in the K. It's like supporting the KKK and say, well, I really don't support lynching, but I support the KKK. You can't have it both ways. You're either all in or all out. If you voted for Biden, if you're a Democrat, this is the blood's on your hand. Those dead men over there right now, you can also take credit for that. You created that. You facilitated that with your stupid ass vote. Okay, no one better. I'm just going to get a little political for a second. How can you vote for a party, man, that first of all was a party of slavery? Two, every aspect of it, Jim Crow laws, every part of it is attributable to the Democratic. In fact, during the slave years, guess who was in charge? Democrats. All right, so we can start with that. We can talk about the millions and millions of babies that are being aborted every year, and some of them are allowed to die alive. Okay, just allowed to fucking die. Okay, again, this makes you murderers by proxy. I can go on all day long about the fucked up shit Democrats fucking sign up for. Letting fucking hundreds of thousands, probably millions of illegal aliens in our country with a virus unchecked. We're driving them all over the country and we're planting them like fucking seeds everywhere in every fucking city and letting them go. Yet we're not bringing the Cubans over there trying to flee communism. And guess what? We dropped the ball on evacuating Afghans who, by the way, deserve to be here more than any illegal alien. Any fucking Mexican comes here and crosses the border is a fucking criminal. At least the Afghans have sacrificed on our behalf. I've got dead soldiers right now, literally dead soldiers, okay, have been killed, have been hunted down and killed because they were fighting with the military, the U.S. government. They're dead now. And their families are being wiped out. Their brothers are being wiped out. Their fathers, their uncles, their entire freaking lineage is being fucking erased. Okay, yeah. Those people deserve to be here more than anybody from Mexico or South America, or where the fuck they're coming from, coming across our borders illegally. If I had to give somebody a free education and all these free benefits were given to all these other criminals, I would rather give it to the Afghans who actually earned it. But we're not doing nothing for them. We're bringing them over. But how can you fucking say we can't? We don't have the capacity to fucking carry all these people and get them out. Hell, we can fucking move the 82nd Airborne Division, 15,000 paratrooper in a matter of fucking hours. Okay, anywhere around the goddamn world, and we got fucking lots of fucking heavy lift aircraft. What do you mean you can't get these people out? Bullshit.
This is a thing that I think we can only. Well, politicians can only sell to America because no one has any idea what the capabilities of the U.S. military are. Just no clue, right? If you've been there, if you've seen, and you don't even have to see all of it or even a majority, just when the military wants something to happen, it happens, right? It might go kind of bad, it might go kind of sideways, but guess what? It happens. And this is the kind of thing that irritates people while they're in all the time, because you hear all the time, oh, we can't do that. Like, motherfucker, you could do that if you felt like it. We know, all right? And so when you see idiots who are out there like, well, there's just no way for us to get people out of Afghanistan. Like, well, we could get a battalion there in a matter of hours, right? There are troops all over the damn place. We could land a battalion of guys with support in a matter of hours. We could get a division there in a day or two. We could get multiple divisions there by the end of the week. If we wanted to, this would happen. We just simply have no will to do it. And when you say I can't, what every single person who has any idea what U.S. military capabilities are hears is, so you just don't want to. You find the situation okay as it is. And there are all kinds of people who like to say dumb shit like, well, guys in black pajamas just kicked the U.S. military's ass for the past 75 years. Did they though? Because, in every military engagement, that went pretty bad for the guys in black pajamas. They did pretty well in political engagements, I'll grant you that. But when it came down to where meat met metal, the black pajamas were not doing so good. It's just...
Yeah, I've always said, man, the enemy's smart. They know that all they've got to do is kill one or two Americans. It makes the fucking news, and we lose our shit. No, the public loses their shit. but they're willing to sacrifice 50, 100, 200 freaking fighters. To them, it's cannon fodder, right? They're willing to lose those odds. To them, losing 200 guys is like us losing one guy, right? So no big fucking deal because they're going to go to Allah. They're going to get 70-something virgins, you know, and life is good. Their whole mindset's different from ours, but they know if they can kill a couple Americans, get it on the news, that's going to have give them a lot of political credit, man. You know, because they know the mindset. Just we don't have the stomach. No, the American public doesn't have the stomach. Not the soldiers. The public doesn't have the stomach because they sit in their freaking nice secure homes, the air conditioning, heat, watching television on their fucking soft couch, you know, and most of them have never been in a fucking street fight in their whole goddamn life. You know, the worst thing that's ever happened to them is maybe they fell down two stairs, you know, carrying some fucking groceries, you know, and that's their fucking combat experience. You know, they have no idea what the real world looks like. And so they can only imagine what they see on television. And it's scary shit for them, you know. And I'm not going to lie, combat is scary. But, you know, they don't have the willpower to support it because, you know, they think they're heroes by being social justice warriors, you know. And actually, like, I'll go back to the whole McCain thing, you know, when McCain said, interrogations don't work, you know, blah, 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 you know, and of course it came out with that policy. You cannot, you know, arrest people. You can't take prisoners of war. You can't interrogate them. Their personnel under control. You can interview them for 3 days and you have to release them with all their IEDs and their weapons and shit, you know. Fucking, they knew that. The freaking bad guys knew that, man. When they understood what that meant for them. And when we go out and if we arrested or detained a guy, okay, luckily for him, he didn't get killed in the fight somehow, but he managed to escape. He threw his hands up. We didn't shoot him because we don't want to get reported for murder. You know, the first question out of their mouth was, are you arresting me as a terrorist or a criminal? They were hoping to God you said you were arresting him as a terrorist because they knew how that was going to play out. 3 days, detention, interviews, no violence. They're gonna get, you know, 3 hots in a cot, and in 3 days they're gonna go out the front gate with all their fucking war fighting shit again and get to do it again. But if the guy arrested as a criminal, we would hand him over to the ANP, the Afghan National Police, and others, and they knew this was not going to work out for them. They're going to get treated badly. They're going to end up in some fucking dungeon somewhere for the rest of their life, never to be seen again. So they were happy, you know, and so we assume that, you know, they're not that fucking smart. Actually, they're pretty goddamn smart when you think about it. We were talking yesterday to some people, and they were like, you know, well, they got all this, you know, heavy weapons, blah, blah, blah. They got this, they got mortars, they got helicopters, and what are they going to do with it? I was like, you'd be surprised. I had a mortar crew that was Afghan for 18 months, and these guys were as good as any American mortar crew. Fucking, they could run that whiz wheel. They could fucking call indirect fire all day long, you know? And these were goat herders, man, fucking farmers with sandals, and they could do it. So, yeah, they can learn this shit. They can fly a fucking helicopter. They can figure it out, just like, you know, we can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about the mortar crew thing last time, and when I was in Afghanistan, there was a thing that, by the way, if you talk to most mortar crews, is basically impossible, or at least this was the assumption for a bunch of years. But there was a thing where what they were doing, and it was either the Taliban or ISIS, but doesn't matter. It's the same list of knowledge. Is they would bury a big block in the ground. And on that block would be a bunch of graduations, and that is so that you can aim a mortar tube. And a little bit out in front of that, they'd plant just a stick or a piece of rebar or something, just a little something in the ground, and that was your aiming stick. And they'd walk over on the first day, they'd set a mortar tube on it, they'd shoot, they'd pick up the mortar tube, and they'd leave, right? Spotter would stay, and he'd watch where the mortar landed. And they'd come back the next day, and they'd drop one mortar, and they'd watch where that landed, and that was corrected off the first mortar, and they would bracket you. And for anybody who doesn't know, bracketing is you shoot long, you shoot short, then you know where the target is. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, they would drop enough mortars that they could figure out how to get mortars on time, on target, right? Because they'd measure time of flight. And all of a sudden, 4 or 5 days after the first mortar lands, you've got a wild attack going with accurate indirect fire, because these guys know, okay, I walk back over to my rock in the ground, I aim this bitch right here, and then I just drop mortars like it's cool. And after that, the small arms fire starts. If you think guys that are doing that have no idea what they're doing, you have no clue how combat works. Literally not. That is amazing. And should be respected.
That's insane.
They used to take 107 rockets, man, and literally lay them on the ground, brace them with rocks, elevate them with rocks, hook them up to a fucking battery and a timer, and they fucking leave. And this thing was launched and they were fucking accurate. They were hitting the fucking base. And then we would return fire and there was nobody there to fucking kill. And then they were literally laying the rocks, these rockets on rocks, man, on fucking just shit they improvised and kind of like angling and eyeballing it and fucking setting it on a battery and walking away. Boom.
Yeah. Same premise. There was a time where they'd set up a mortar tube, impromptu mortar tube, mind you, just a big piece of steel pipe. And they'd put a giant ice block in it and put a mortar on top and they just leave. It's 120 degrees out there. That bitch is going to melt max half an hour, but in a half an hour, they're miles away. And somewhere or another, the Marine Corps got a hold of some video of guys putting it up and they set the mortar on top of the ice block and they turn around and walk away. And, they time lapse the rest of it. So over the course of 30 seconds or so, you see the water pouring out and the mortar goes off. And about a minute later, the artillery rounds hit, right? And guaranteed, this was, Taliban ISIS video. And what are they doing there? They're measuring the time it takes you to return fire. So they know how long they can be there. Why would you do that? It takes a full minute for them to do that. How long does it take us to get out of here? It takes us 5 minutes. Okay, so we can't drop multiple rounds. Well, let's go do this again in a slightly different place because it might take them longer to get the rounds out here. So maybe we can drop 2 rounds and then leave, right? They're fucking good at this. Do not disrespect them. They, by all means, hate them. They're pieces of shit. They're horrible people. But respect your enemy enough to know that he can kill you because he can and he will.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. It's. Yeah, I mean, the Second Amendment makes so much sense. Like,
doesn't
it? I mean, really. Yeah, I mean, how do you fight that? You really can't beat guerrilla warfare without like a thermonuclear airburst.
Think about this, Tom. So I think I brought it up last time, but let's look at it from a macro perspective. So China, right? China's been positioning themselves for a long time, man, to dominate the world, basically, in every area. But right now they've been making moves for some time in the South China Sea, around Taiwan. They've been posturing themselves, and they've even come out and said, you know what, Taiwan, you're next, man. We're gonna get you, and there's a damn thing the Americans can do to help you because look how they screwed this up in Afghanistan, how they screwed this up all around the world every time they go in since World War II. And so, if anybody thinks they're just gonna take Taiwan back, okay, that's enough. Hell no. They're already making moves. They're in Manila. They're in the Philippines. They're in Indonesia. They're all up and down the Malacca Straits. Okay, they're setting up. They're building man-made islands and areas to launch from. And guess what? Here's who if I was there, who should be scared the most right now is the Australians, because the Australians, they gave up all their personal firearms. They got a very small army. Their navy is probably a couple of canoes, and that's about it. They've enjoyed the protection from the West and Europe, thinking nobody will ever come and muck with them. And here we are. There's a good possibility that one day the Chinese will come and gobble them up too. And guess what? They ain't got shit to fight back with. They'll be speaking Chinese. They shouldn't be speaking Japanese, by the way. If it wasn't for the Battle of Midway, they probably would be speaking Japanese today. And who saved their ass there? Yeah, the Americans did. Who actually saved the Chinese from the Japanese? The Americans did. Okay, because the Japanese were kicking the Chinese ass. Yeah. Okay, and
stories out of Nanking are nuts.
Right. So here we are, man. We're looking at World War III 10X, man, and everybody thinks, well, they're not shooting missiles or bullets yet. Well, guess what? Warfare, man, is evolving like everything else. We're already in World War III, okay? Right now, the preemptive strikes look something different. They're attacking the internet. They're leveraging finances and all this other crap. They're positioning themselves in the Middle East, Afghanistan. They're going to get a good toehold. Yeah, they're going to get, yeah, actually Africa, Cuba, Venezuela. Okay, these guys are everywhere, and they're getting their toeholds now. And then once they got a good foothold, um, and if they have to, then they're going to start slinging lead and rockets, man. And we're going to be strategically freaking outgunned, outnumbered, and outmaneuvered, man.
This is a thing that people really don't ever want to pay attention to. Way more often than not, the problem with advancing a military line is a logistical issue, right? Okay. Notoriously, you can read any war in world history and you will find out that troops got ahead of their food. And that happens all the time. You know, one meal a day things are not even all that abnormal, even in modern day combat. The problem is when you get ahead of your bullets, right? Because that's it, you're done. There, you're not taking another step forward if you can't load a weapon, if you can't get air support, artillery support, nothing. You have, well, that's it. I guess we got a K-bar. You're sitting your ass there and you're waiting until something catches up to you so you can go back to fighting. And the thing that China is doing right now is setting up basically a global logistical supply network, which is going to make it real hard to outrun their bullets. If they have effectively an unlimited supply train to, at this point, sort of half the globe, their only real problem is if they can't produce enough bullets, period. That's the thing that will run them out of bullets. That's it. Everything else will be taken care of. And for those that are not familiar, supply runs are dangerous runs because the enemy knows if I can run you out of food and water and bullets, you have to leave. And that's not going to be a concern for them for China through most of the world right now. So at this point, the big question is, can they turn their military into something that is useful enough to take advantage of all that and then just say, okay, everything's ours? And for a lot of years, their military has been kind of crap. But they seem to be turning down that road now. So what's left? Financial warfare? I guess that's our hope, but we're probably about to turn $1 trillion of what are the rare earth minerals over to them right now with Afghanistan. And the only other place in the world effectively that rare earth minerals come from is China. They'll probably be doing okay financially if something doesn't change pretty drastically pretty soon. We are setting them up to just pave over the world. And for some reason, that's okay. That I don't understand in the slightest.
Yeah, scary times, man. But going back to Kabul, so again, this is just my way of thinking, but you got 6,000 troops sitting there. And speaking of the logistics train that you just mentioned there a minute ago, those guys are sitting there with M4s, and now they're facing an army. Let's just say half the Taliban are there, 35,000. Let's say 10,000. Okay, they're still, they're still outnumbered quite a bit. They're outgunned, and they got M4s, small firearms, small weapons to defend themselves with. And we gave all the big guns to the bad guys that can overrun them. And same thing, you cut off their supply chain, you cut off their ability to bring in more weapons, more equipment. It's going to be like, Fort Apache. You ever watch the movie Zulu with the Brits in that defensive perimeter just getting hit by waves and waves and waves of Zulu, man, with spears, I mean, this is what I'm imagining. It's like, we better hope to God we get them out of there, because they could potentially slaughter 6,000 U.S. souls in uniform there, and we won't be able to do a damn thing about it, man. Not a damn thing about it. We have no political leverage. We have no economic leverage. We have no leverage. None. Zero. No, nothing. And we're telling them, hey, if you want to be part of the, world government, you better play nice. Bullshit. They don't want to be part of the world government. They just want to govern Afghanistan and have their way there. And they got China and Russia as their friends now. They're good. Why do they need anybody else?
Idiot Pisaki. ISIS should figure out how they want to be perceived by the world. They did. They know.
Yeah.
They don't give a damn about you.
They were cutting heads off. That's how they want you to know them. We will cut your head off, okay, if you come muck around with us. I mean, that's what they care about. See, the problem is the West keeps thinking that the East thinks like us, and they don't. They don't. Culturally, it's different, man. And that's what, and whether she's, maybe she's just that stupid. Not only is she that stupid, but the whole administration's that stupid, or they're just trying to
Or they
lie
think
to
we're
people.
that stupid.
Yeah, exactly. They're exactly, man. Um, I don't think this is gonna work. It's not gonna work out well. We're not gonna get everybody out there, and for a long time, we're gonna hear stories of Americans killed over there. We're going to hear about all the atrocities. We're going to hear about 9-year-old girls getting raped, married off to some freaking 50-year-old pervert. We're going to hear some ugly, ugly stories, mass murder, executions, and they're not beyond that, man. This is okay. That's okay with them, man. They do it all the time, and we're going to go, oh my God, that's so cruel and that's so horrible. Yeah, well, guess what? We got blood on our hands for that shit. We enabled it, man, hands down. Well, I keep saying we. It's not we. It's them. Those guys. They did it, not us. I'm trying to get people out. I'm so frustrated because I've been trying to get guys out and I just can't get them out. I got word that maybe one guy in his family might be getting bused to Pakistan, but I'm like thinking, how the fuck they're going to get across the border, because the border's controlled by the Taliban. There's only certain places you can cross over in Pakistan. I've been there. Okay. You got to go up to some really steep, high mountains and through a checkpoint to get across. And I don't see how that's going to work either, man. These people are doomed, man. They are doomed. And Biden keeps saying, well, how else? It was going to be bad no matter what. There was no other way. The hell there was no other way. You keep the military, you keep everybody there. You get everybody evacuated first. It's a civilian, okay? And then you pull the military out last. They slowly withdraw. You don't withdraw the military from Bagram Air Force Base. You pull all them out, and leave all this gear and weapons and money behind, and go, okay, now we're going to bring out, the stragglers, the Americans and the Afghans. What the, dude, man, a 3-year-old can come up with a better strategy than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been
seriously.
advocating for a drunken PFC to replace whoever's making these plans for a while, because
well, I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about that earlier, right? And so we got these generals up there. First of all, let me say this. And I've told Tom about this before. Fucking everybody thinks a general is a fucking leader. Sorry. I know some good generals, and they're my friends. Okay, but here's the real story about a general. A general is an executive manager. He's not a fucking leader. Okay, who's the leader? The non-commissioned officers. All right, your sergeants, your sergeants majors. Those are your fucking real leaders, man. You know what? And they're just as fucking smart as any goddamn general. All right. So I think it's time to get rid of these assholes, these fucking O's, and start putting fucking NCOs in there, enlisted guys in these fucking positions where common sense has to take over, because these guys are playing politics. Okay, it's always the CRT's, the CRT is more important right now. Political correctness, rather than focusing on war fighting, they're focusing on political correctness and bullshit that has no relevance to war fighting whatsoever. And and it's just disgusting, man. It's time to start flipping the script and go, you know what? Out with all the professional politicians, out with all the political generals, and start replacing them with, common people, man. Let middle America fucking run the show. They know what's best for America. Biden has no clue what middle America's about.
So I saw a thing the other day, and it is strangely more crushing on this front than I probably would have expected. Yeah, I know.
Don and Dale, I got like 5 more minutes. You guys can keep talking,
okay.
Actually.
No, I got to go too, man.
All right.
The sergeant major of the Army, basically, as the shit happened in Kabul, was like, well, diversity is the most important thing we can be doing. The question is, how many other people in the room look like you? And I was like, look, you motherfucker. Sergeant major of the Army, your job, and far be it from me, I was not a sergeant major, but your job is to be the guy that goes, hey, maybe we focus on this thing that the military does, which, in case anyone has forgotten, is killing the enemies of the United States. That's it. That's what we do. We're not a political force. This is not the Boy Scouts of America that is now taken over by a bunch of douchebags. We quite literally have one job. You're the enemy of the United States, and you are going to cause some sort of violent related problem. We kill you. That's what we do. And anything that's not that is somebody else's jobs. We're not ambassadors. We are not negotiators. We are the people that you send when someone needs to die. That's it. But no. Now we have the guy who is supposed to be the one saying that, going, well, but how about if we check and make sure there's enough people of color and LGBTQAAIP in the room because it's important. No, don't care. Do not care. And don't give me any of this crap about, oh, the best person for the job. If they were the best person for the job, they already would have been there. You don't need to help them out. You don't need to promote someone because women need to be in charge. Shut the fuck up. Find me the guy who is willing and able to get shot at and go, you flank, because that's the guy we need. That's it. No more, no less. But can't do that anymore. It's horrifically bad. And the last place that it's supposed to come from pretty well just said, we're not doing it anymore.
That's right.
Well,
the last bastion of patriotism, of fucking common sense has been corrupted. They finally got in there and just corrupted it, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fuck.
if I'm now permanently banned for telling people to take vitamins, then you know what? Maybe we get what we fucking deserve.
Well, I do have some good news on this front for everybody still living in America. If they declare martial law and send the military to come get us, these are the people that are going to be coming for us.
At least that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All you gotta do is.
And you know what? And I can tell you right now, many of us are not gonna comply, not gonna conform. And guess what? You're gonna see a fucking war on the streets.
Yeah,
That's what's gonna happen.
The guys I'd
You're
be
gonna see
afraid
Afghanistan
of,
right here.
yeah, the guys I'd be afraid of coming to get me, they're all going to go, we're not doing that shit. And let me take off the uniform, step the other side of the street. And guess what? Every transgender person of color, wheelchair bound, disabled, brand new Green Beret probably is going to be the one running out there screaming about how we're all mean because microaggressions, well, you get shot in the face. Enjoy. Good luck to you.
That's true, man. Yeah, some of these people are living in fantasy land, man. There's just a lot of people out here that are not going to comply. They're going to rebel. Okay, I used to say resist. That's why I always said resist. And I was talking to David Webb last week, and he said, you know what? It's not resist, it's rebel. American people need to start rebelling. You can resist all you want, and they're just going to keep, rolling over you. But it's when you push back, when you rebel and you push back, that's when they lose their momentum. And that's when you can switch that momentum, maybe in favor of your way or in a different direction. But that's never going to happen as long as, it's like tying a dog out on a chain, right? Every day you remove a link and the chain gets shorter and shorter. The dog doesn't know that. And then one day he's down to 3 links. He can't fucking move. But he's okay with that because you slowly removed a little link, and he got used to a shorter chain, and he's laying away. He can't even fucking get up anymore. And he's still, and he's not even aware that, damn, wait a minute, my chain used to be really long. Now it's only 3 feet, three links. That's what's happening in America. They're just taking one little link out at a time, and shortening the chain and shortening the chain and shortening the chain. And now there's this bullshit talk about what, martial law. That's a fucking chain, man. That's the end of that's the last 3 links of the chain,
So
get off the chain.
There was a thing on my recruiter's door when I enlisted, and I can never find it, and I wish I could. But it was a poster, and it said, Americans can sleep soundly in their bed because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. And we, I think, are very much about to run into a situation where that is not true, at least not in the way that it has been. The military is not going the direction we're headed. We keep going, is not going to be filled with rough men ready to stand and do violence on their behalf. They're all going to get out, and they're going to be fighting in front of you. And Americans are going to get a very serious and very real lesson in what that looks like. Which, would I have it another way? If I could, but I don't think it's avoidable at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's been happening We've been inching in this direction for years. For years, we've been inching this direction, man. Not during the Trump era, but back before even Obama. I remember I got friends that have been buying property in remote areas. They've been stocking ammunition. They've been preparing for years for what they think is coming. I think all of us have. All of us have. I'm not gonna lie. I prepared myself. In fact, right here, I got a bore sighter for my rifle, for my sniper rifle. So I just ordered it because I need to check my irons on my sights. But people have been preparing for a very long time. They're not going to take your guns. It's never going to happen. They want to take your guns so you can be like Australia. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So the only other choice is if they want to enslave us, they're going to have to kill us, and we're just not going to go down. The American soul, man. We've always been that kind of person, man. That we got grit, man. We will fight, man. We will face adversity at any price. Think about this, man. When people slam dunk America, right? I'm like, you know what? You get to enjoy cell phones, television, electricity, fucking air, flight, space, fucking cars, all this shit you fucking enjoy today. Guess where it fucking came from? Where it originated? Right here in the United States of America. American ingenuity, man. There's nothing like it anywhere on the planet. And war fighting, we are the most powerful military in the world that has been misused by the politicians and by the American people. But as a military, we're fucking unstoppable fucking trained, man. And if they turned us loose, we'd freaking demolish anything and everybody. So for the rest of the world to think that we're just a bunch of pushovers and even for our government to think we're a bunch of pushovers and we're just going to roll over and show our belly, bad news, man. There is still 3% in this country that will take it to you, man, and take it to you hard. That's who we are, man. That's what, and it's not because, I know people go, oh, fucking white guys are extremists. No, I'm not an extremist. I'm an American, first of all.
I'm an extremist. I'm an American extremist.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right, man. I believe in freedom. I believe in fucking capitalism. I believe in the American way of life as it was, not as it is today. Okay, I don't even recognize this shit no more. And I'm willing to fight for it. I'm willing to die for it, man. I'm not going to die. I'm going to make a lot of people die for it if it comes to that. But I'm prepared to give my life if that's what it takes to win. And I'll do it.
Never won a war by dying for his country. He won the war by making that other bastard die for his country.
Poor bastard die for his.
That's right, yeah. General Patton, man. I agree with that. And I'll sling lead. You know what's pretty cool is not cool, but it's actually sad. But so I understand a Afghan Special Forces unit. I hope to God it wasn't my guys, but literally fought until they ran out of ammunition.
Yeah.
Ran out of ammunition and couldn't get any more ammunition and were fucking executed for that. But at least those guys had balls. They had resolve. They were committed to the cause, and they did what had to be done at the expense of, running out of ammunition and dying. That's the kind of shit that and we have men like that in this country. Hell, we have women like that in this country, and I pray to God that this administration doesn't push us to that level, man, to that edge, because it's not going to work out well. If they think that, well, first of all, you're not going to use F-15s, you're not going to use nuclear weapons. And
that's
quick,
my favorite. We're going to nuke you if you come back, if you try and push back against us. Really?
Yeah,
what exactly are you going to nuke? New York City?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And who your F-15 is going to target? You know what? Because obviously Biden didn't learn the lesson in Afghanistan. The enemy blend in. They hit and run, right? It's not like, there's a whole wave of soldiers coming in one direction. We can take them all out. It doesn't work like that. He doesn't understand the concept of guerrilla warfare. And that's exactly what they're going to get in this country. They will never win. They could never win that war. We didn't win it in Afghanistan. Nobody's ever won it, right? And so this guy has no business being commander in chief. He doesn't have the intellect for it. He spent 40-something years in politics and is totally fucking clueless. Totally fucking clueless. And now all of a sudden it shows. It shows that he didn't learn a damn thing in government. Nothing. He's on the dole. He's networking. He's making money. He's doing private business for him and his freaking boys. You know, and the boys thing just popped in my head too. So he runs around telling everybody his son fought in Iraq and died. That's a fucking lie, man. He might have been in Iraq, but from what I understand, he didn't die in Iraq. He died years later, what, from cancer or some shit?
Yeah.
Okay. But he's telling everybody that his kid died. He's giving the impression that his kid died in combat, you know, and somehow, you know, he's got skin in this game. Dude, really? Stop fucking lying, man. You know, fucking a lot of people's kids have gone to Iraq just because you know, and if they died later, it wasn't because they died of in Iraq. So don't couch it that way. But that guy, he knows how to freaking play on words too, man. And I actually bought into it for years. I actually thought, oh yeah, his son died in combat in Iraq. And then I really found out not too long ago. I was like, wait a minute, he didn't die in combat? No, he died from cancer years later. I was just civilian. Like what?
My wife has more buy-in to this than him, specifically for one idiotic person existing. When I was deployed, for those that don't know, there's a thing called a family readiness officer, and their job is to say, hey, you know, the guys have some problem, it's being taken care of. You guys heard this rumor, that rumor's not true, right? Whatever it is, basically calm the wives down at home, right? So that they're not all panicking for no reason. It's a liaison between the military and military families. And mine, in her infinite fucking wisdom, somebody, well, actually my sergeant major, stepped on an IED, got his legs blown off, right about the same time that a guy jumped out of an MRAB after the convoy got hit, stepped on a 10-pound IED and died. Right. So all that happened there's a few other little things that happened along the same lines. And all this happened in the span of 5 days. And so apparently the end of the week, this broad sends out an email to every single wife and says, hey, so, you know, a Marine died and another one lost his legs, and it just doesn't tell anybody anything. No chaplains have been dispatched. Nobody has knocked on doors and said, hey, your Marine has died. None of that has happened. And so every single person in the battalion, you know, you occasionally you get some, time to call home or something. And so somewhere in this time period, somebody calls home and comes back and goes, all right, everybody, I don't care what it is you normally be doing. Go call your wife and tell her you're alive. What are you talking about, dude? Apparently the family readiness officer, somebody decided that they were just going to say some random Marine in the battalion died, and now every single wife is losing their fucking mind. And that is closer to my loved one died in combat than Biden and his kid.
That's right.
Fair enough. Right. Hey, I got to wrap this one up. I'm
all right, Tommy.
I'm late for the next one. And, well, I guess now that I'm perma-banned from YouTube, I guess on Don streaming this, so he's on YouTube. So my closing remarks are that the 2020 election was stolen by a lab-made COVID bioweapon. So,
motherfucker.
Fuck you, Susan. Eat a dick. Peace.